Hello everyone, welcome to Tides Digital Week, brought to you by the organizers of the Global Tides event and content series. My name is Brianna Cosafret, and I'll be your host for today's session titled Oligonucleotide Manufacturing Today, Tomorrow, and Beyond. First, I'll cover some quick housekeeping items. If you experience difficulties with audio or advancing slides, refresh your screen with F5. If you're experiencing other issues, hit the question mark button to receive assistance. At any time during the presentation, you can submit your questions into the Q&A window on the left-hand side of your screen. In 24 hours, you'll receive a link to watch the recording of this session. Now let's begin by introducing our speakers for this session. Scott Merz, Business Development Manager, Stefan Hyde, Automation Manager, and Wahab Mahmood, Senior Field Service Engineer, all with Asahi Kasei Bioprocess. Thank you for joining us today, gentlemen. Now I'll hand it over to Scott to begin the presentation.
Well, thank you, Brianna. Asahi Kasei would like to speak to everyone about the oligonucleotide manufacturing of today, tomorrow, and beyond. I'll be joined by my colleagues, Stefan Hyde and Wahab. We're on these topics, and let's go ahead and dive into it. First of all, Asahi Kasei has several divisions, and my colleagues and I, we're part of the fluid management division, and we have actually undertaken our own philosophy within the organization. And within that philosophy, we have our vision and mission statements, which are clearly described and detailed on this slide right here. But I'd just like to bring out to everyone's attention that our vision for our company and our division is that we think of ourselves as trusted advisors to the oligonucleotide industry, and we are looking to deliver the manufacturing platforms of tomorrow today. And that's very key in the way that we organize our business, our daily business, and how we foresee products being developed within the company itself. Our facility is headquartered in Glenview, Illinois. And within that facility, we do all of everything that's listed here on the slide, from engineering to design development, servicing, demonstrations, FATs. Again, everything is done in the Glenview office, and all the equipment is actually designed and built in the U.S. Within using the various machine shops and facilities within the greater Chicago area. So again, everything is USA made. I like to speak about our quality. Our quality is of very utmost importance to us. We are committed to providing high quality, innovative equipment and filtration solutions for the bioprocess and pharmaceutical industries. This commitment is driven by the fact that we attained ISO certification back in 2015 and have been renewing our certificate ever since then. We are continuing to improve our quality systems and products, which is key to meet the industry standards that are continually changing. And we actually have a number of values that we abide by on a daily basis throughout the company, and they're listed here as well. I'd like to speak about trends of oligonucleotides. This is an interesting topic. This is an interesting topic for us because we are seeing a tremendous growth within this industry. It's a very young industry still by pharmaceutical standards, but this growth has been stemmed just really from the maturation of the industry and the following items: improved delivery mechanisms. There's broadened therapeutic targets such as the ASOs, siRNAs, aptamers, CRISPR, all those targets, and which has resulted in well over 300 active clinical trials that are various stages within the FDA. So again, it's a very growing industry that is very exciting to be part of, and we look forward to the challenges coming this way. Speaking of growth and challenges, how to meet that growth. So we've identified at least 5 different manufacturing trends that are trying to meet the growth. And one would be process scaling. So it's just the modernization of facilities. That's on a biopharmaceutical process, even an oligonucleotide process. We're seeing a tremendous growth in people updating and modernizing their facilities, and Stefan Hyde will be speaking to that in a moment. Improved machinery. There's always continual improvement with the equipment that we're making. We're always looking to help our customers run more efficiently and as into an automated process as possible. Sustainability. This is becoming more and more a global concern of how to minimize overall liquid volumes by also maintaining a high titers and how to make process operations more friendly. There's also an interesting new development or new next generation. We're looking at enzymatic synthesis platforms as well. Digitalization, meeting the Pharma 4.0. As I mentioned, this is one of the topics that Stefan will be speaking about. And then there's always the infamous, always trying to catch on to an ideal synthesis where it's a completely dry closed system, there's no dead volumes, and there's the efficient plug flow for the chemistry. It's ideal, and we're striving to always challenge ourselves to meet and attain this type of synthesis. So exactly though, how is Asahi trying to meet these challenges? And we're doing it a number of different ways. One way we're doing it is we're combining our extensive knowledge of the fluid management systems into downstream processing and dedicating our work to developing a nice crafted technology for the customer. We take pride in designing and engineering equipment. We think that we have the industry leading for high performance columns, systems, and automated solutions. We have our OCELOT system control software, which is also OPC ready, allowing us to connect with other platforms as well in a fairly easy-ish way. And then we have really the only large-scale cleavage deprotection system available on the market for the oligonucleotide area. With that, the engineering and automation service teams combine with decades of experience in developing and supporting advanced oligonucleotide manufacturing equipment that consistently enables our customers to push their own innovations forward. Now let's take a look at the Asahi Kasei equipment that we're promoting. First is our oligo synthesizer. This recently was awarded a patent over in the EU, and it is a system that we've had around for the probably past 17, 18 years, which we're constantly making improvements to along the way, obviously. But this is really the heart of our oligonucleotide synthesis platform here. The synthesizers use a zero static valve manifold, which puts us apart from the competitors, which allows for the highest coupling efficiency and improved yields and reduced wash volumes. The oligonucleotide range of products we have generally listed as in millimole as for product specification from 10 millimole systems up to 2.5 millimole systems and beyond. But the reality is these systems are designed and built for you. So they're custom designed based off of a flow rate, not necessarily off of a millimole specification. So the conversations we have involve a lot of what your flow rates would need to be from product loading to wash volumes, what have you. And that's how we design and build our systems accordingly. These skids are paired with our columns, and we have two types of columns. The first one here is what we call our SCS columns. It's a static column approach, and these columns here are used globally. They are probably the world's most popular synthesis columns by ease of use and just overall popularity. They have ranges from 10 to 100 centimeters ID. These columns are incredibly efficient, and they're easily scalable based on our design. These static columns allow for swellable solid supports, which is one of the many supports that is used within the industry. These columns are designed so that they can, the supports can shrink and swell without having damage to them or the molecule itself. The product list for these columns are wide and varying from, again, anywhere 10 centimeter up to 85 centimeter we have listed here. 100 centimeter is definitely within range, and even beyond then. Again, these columns are very scalable in their design platform, so we can choose any scale really in between there if you need a custom-made column. The other column is called ACS column, and these are adaptable or adjustable. They operate similar to a dynamic axial compression column in that the piston moves up and down based off a hydraulic cart. It's not a manual piston position like the SCS column. These things are, again, widely used within the industry and allow for, again, the same type of efficient flow process as the SCS columns. Again, similar like the SCS columns, we have a full range of product listed here from 10 centimeters up to 85 centimeters. No difference in that. You can see that's very much the same verbiage as well. And again, these are designed based off of theoretical capacity of what the molecule or what you're trying to, the molecule trying to build. I did mention that these columns have a unique flow distribution and plug flow that makes them very popular, that we have these radial and axial grooves into the backside of the distributor plate that allow for the flow distribution to come across at again, a plug flow approach throughout the entire column. And it's very unique, and it allows for very efficient coupling processes. And lastly, as far as equipment needs go, there's two other items that we're going to speak about. There would be the C&D, the cleavage and deprotection system here. We are the only ones that providing a large scale, process scale, custom cleavage and deprotection systems for the industry. And these can be used for both RNA and DNA type of syntheses. Again, we work with you to understand the flow rate needs of the process, not just based off of a millimole sizing. The C&D system itself is very basic in design. In fact, it's a very simple PNID that we're showing here. You can recirculate through the tank or the column, or you can actually have there's another option where you can have additional pumps to bypass if need be. But again, just to kind of show you a very basic PNID on this. And the final additional piece of equipment that is used is slurry prep systems. Again, we're the only ones providing this type of large-scale system that's custom made for the process, and it's essentially, again, a very simple design as far as PNID would go. You have your slurry that's in a tank that can that has a pneumatic mixer to keep it a homogeneous mixture, or you can recirculate it within the tank as well before you put it into the column. So that's the equipment side of how we're presenting and how we're going after the oligonucleotide synthesis market. Now my colleague Stefan Hyde will like to talk about the OCELOT platform, and we are looking at the digitalization.
Thanks, Scott, for the great introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Stefan Hyde. As Scott mentioned, I am the automation manager here at AKBA. Scott gave us just kind of a brief foray into some of the topics that we're considering in the automation space at AKBA as it relates to digitalization and integration of equipment. And I want to kind of expand on those, explain maybe what Pharma 4.0 is as a brief introduction, why we should care, and how AKBA is supporting your adoption and migration in this new digital environment. So just to get down to the roots, Pharma 4.0, as coined by the ISPE, International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering, is a specific introduction of Industry 4.0 concepts to the pharmaceutical industry. This term, Industry 4.0, refers to the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution, which, as you might imagine, is preceded by the First, Second, and Third Industrial Revolutions. The boundaries of those periods are defined differently by different groups, and they often overlap since adoption times vary drastically by region. But broadly speaking, we can agree that the First Industrial Revolution is defined by the steam engine and weaving loom, or early mechanization. The second with the adoption of electricity and assembly lines. The third with the introduction of computers and automation. Then the fourth and current industrial revolution with the so-called Internet of Things, IoT, and broad-based networks. Pharmaceutical production based on Industry 4.0 factory design really becomes, quote, Pharma 4.0 when these same ideas are applied to GMP compliance, validation, and GAMP requirements. Those are kind of unique to our industry as it relates to other industries, other Industry 4.0 considerations. Pharma 4.0 is not a product, but rather a framework that consists of many elements and enablers. Those are shown in this nice diagram from ISPE. The elements here being resources, information systems, organization, processes, and culture, and enablers being digital maturity and data integrity by design. This operational model is a methodology for processes from product development all the way up to commercial manufacturing. Those terms that you saw in the previous diagrams, elements and enablers, actually come from ICH's Q10 guidelines for pharmaceutical quality systems. The ICH Q10 elements and enablers are shown in gray in this diagram, and I think you'll find those quite familiar: corrective action, change management, etc. New elements that are made possible by digitalization are shown in blue. And when you combine those elements with the new enablers, those being digital maturity and data integrity by design, they form a holistic control strategy for the complete product lifecycle. I think it's important to note that this digitalization effort is not an IT project. It's really a project for your whole organization. I think when we hear the word digitalization, we really think computers, automation, IT, but this model requires information exchange both vertically and horizontally throughout your plant. And that means that all departments and stakeholders need to collaborate to enable this data integrity by design. Your IT department doesn't really know what your critical quality attributes are, what your critical process parameters are, and those are key tenets of, sorry, I lost my slide there for a second. And those are key tenets of this process. That broad collaboration is going to be imperative to properly identify those CQAs and CPPs, and that identification is really going to inform your digitalization strategy. Of course, before we set off on an effort towards digitalization, we must understand the benefits. We don't just want to adopt shiny new technology because it is shiny, but we need to have a practical business case and tangible benefits. And so I've identified a few here. The first being quick access to data and real-time reporting. This can allow you to make critical management decisions with very little lag. That could be either quarantining product or qualifying your batch. This technology supports your workforce. It helps with operator training. It can help reduce human error and identify issues. Your operators can get similar data presentations from different systems. We can reduce human error and identify issues. And we can give feedback to the user maintenance team to minimize downtime. You might have indicators that tell you that a system is approaching failure. These technologies can prevent data loss. Things like UPS and backup technologies, robust backup technologies, prevent you from throwing away good product because you've lost data. And perhaps maybe the most important piece of this is that we can prevent equipment obsolescence. There's a big capital expenditure associated with new plant builds, qualification, validation, and ICH Q10 and Q12 are really focused on this continuous process verification concept. Currently, most equipment is made obsolete because it applies to a bespoke product. Sometimes that equipment depends on unwritten operator knowledge of the process or the equipment. But the kind of next level approach is to support this continuous process development and operator training so that that system can be reused and validated for new processes. And that also means that the equipment needs to be adaptable. Digitalization supports real-time batch release. It can reduce your holding time. The true Pharma 4.0 approach would be immediate and concurrent release of your batch and all the supporting documents. And then finally, we have an opportunity to reduce waste. And this is one way where digitalization kind of supports your sustainability efforts. Of course, reduction of use of paper is another, but a great example is the use of PAT, process analytical technology, which you can use to control blend composition, detect deviations, and make critical decisions based on your CPPs. A great example of this is one that's widely adopted is determination of fraction conditions based on UV peaks. But there are some opportunities to detect failed couplings during your synthesis, or detect completion of your TDBMS dacylation reaction during cleavage and deprotection without requiring operator intervention. Now to talk about AKB's automation platform, specifically OCELOT system control, and how we're enabling some of this digitalization effort. Our goal is really to be your plug-and-play platform. We are collaborating with our industry partners. We are an active member of the Bioforum plug-and-play work group, and Bioforum is a kind of industry-wide collaboration to try to further these more generalized efforts. To that end, I'm going to focus on kind of the two key aspects of our systems. First, the IT side. All of our systems are developed on virtual machines in Glenview and deployed to physical hardware as needed. We can also provide them to you and your site as virtual machines instead. We build our systems on Windows 10 Enterprise, which means seamless integration with your plant, easy synchronization with your Active Directory, time synchronization, use of your remote desktop technologies or other supervisory technologies, network backups and asset management. All of our security privileges and timestamps use the Windows groups and timestamps, so there is no special additional layer to deal with. All of our data is stored in standard formats. The SQL database is made accessible to the end user at the administrative level. We have exports and reports available in PDF and CSV format for any relevant batch data, such as audit trail or trend data. And that level of accessibility of data also supports your MES and ERP decision making. So that can help consumption monitoring by totalizing inputs and reporting those values. Or production summary by totalizing outputs and identifying them. We can stamp lot numbers on your inlet records on your batch reports based on user entry, barcode scan, or sent from a larger control system. And that kind of ties into the second half of the topic, which is the OT side. Our systems are Allen Bradley Compact Logics PLC based, or control logics, depending on the application. We provide a dedicated Ethernet IP port for integration, and also an OPC UA server. That allows us to send direct messages to other PLCs as needed, such as Siemens PLCs via Modbus TCP, Delta V controllers by Vim2, etc., or of course via OPC protocols. And then we can also communicate via linking devices as well. We have, in an effort to support this digitalization, rebuilt all of our architecture to use standard and modular data and tag structure for all the relevant information that you might want to collect at your DCS, so that you can look at your P&ID and you know exactly what the tag is that you'll want to collect based on those structures. That easily enables live data monitoring for process values, alarms, and batch status. We can take remote batch commands and recipe requests, and we can integrate with surrounding equipment as well. That could mean tank and solvent supply requests, control of tank levels on the outlet side, larger plant-wide interlocks and global alarming, and also utility interactions such as heating and cooling systems, etc. And finally, depending on the level of integration that you are hoping to do, we can support your full process visualization on your DCS by providing the data structures and also consulting with your team. As I mentioned, we develop all of our systems on virtual machines. We can also provide as a service a virtual twin of your system. So this can enable software FAT well before the system is actually physically ready. As you might imagine, with current supply chain issues, this can be really valuable to get the process team up to speed with the piece of equipment that they're purchasing, especially any customizations. we can use it for demonstration of similar equipment. And then finally, we can retain a clone of your system for later support of your process inquiries. You can provide a backup of your backup or export of your process recipe, and our process engineers can simulate that on our system. Finally, we provide a user-facing simulation mode, which is highlighted here in the graphic. So any of your recipe development can be done and executed without using any solutions at your plant, and you can kind of see how the system is expected to respond. So it's really helpful for operator training as well. Finally, at AKBA, we provide a suite of bespoke browser-based tools for an enhanced user experience in your connected plant. This currently includes our method editor, batch reporting, and audit trail applications, but it is constantly evolving. We're adding additional analysis features. We use a centralized data server that is located at the skid, and that server is used to authenticate users, connect to all the databases, etc. And it means that all the true software installation is done only at the system side. So we're set up for easy integration with your existing IT infrastructure. We just serve up browser screens to any users that you would like to authenticate. This operation is done in parallel with production. There is no licensing. It's available to all devices on the same LAN or VPN, and we automatically lock and unlock recipes as they're opened by the user in any of these different remote nodes. All those user edits are then authenticated at the skid, and you'll see, even for concurrent editing, unique e-signatures for each user, so we are fully compliant with 21 CFR Part 11, and also some additional supporting certifications. It's mobile friendly. It's Chromium based, so you can open it on your iPad or your Surface, or if you're really interested, on your phone. But of course, you can also open it from your laptop if that's connected to your production LAN via VPN or something like that, so that you don't have to gown up and go into the clean room to do recipe development. And our method editor is just simply very adaptable. It provides a lot of user clarification, and it allows for easy modification of recipes for future processes, which supports the CPV concept. Finally, I'll kind of build on that. Our systems are ready to support your rapid process development, both for initial launch and then also for the CPV concept as you try to adapt equipment to new processes later. OCELOT systems all employ PAT to enable system decision making based on CPPs, and that can include end of stream detection, blending and inspect monitoring, fractionation control, step end conditions, and user prompts, and reaction completion indications. So all of those are made available to your users, and then you can identify your CPPs and use them as batch inputs. OCELOT System Control simplifies process development with a full swath of user tools. We provide auto-tuning of PID loops for optimization of your complex processes. Our engineers will provide our equipment with pre-tuned controllers for all of your more simple processes as well. But you can also configure defaults for almost everything in the software. So chart presets, report templates, recipe parameters, those things can be parameterized ahead of time. And then finally, I touched on the method editor and recipe development, but a couple key features. We have a function that we call control parameters, which can replace any numeric entry in your recipe, and you can parameterize your recipe so that you can modify it at point of use. So instead of, for example, typing 25 centimeters per hour in your detritiation flow rate, you can rename it as the parameter dflow, and then at the point of use you can modify that parameter. Another example is perhaps your column pack in your HPLC process. Today, you expect it to be 15 centimeter bed height, but today it's 15.1, and tomorrow it's 14.8. You can take your same validated recipe and at the point of use modify that parameter so that we can calculate an appropriate CV based on the specific instance. And then finally, full synthesis blocks or individual steps can be saved as favorites. Once you've completed a piece of your recipe development, you can save that as a favorite, and you can use it again throughout the same recipe or in other recipes. With that, I think I've covered my points on OCELOT system control, and I would love to turn it over to my colleague Wahab Mahmood from the field service team.
Thank you, Stefan. Great presentation on our automation for our Oligo synthesizers. So now I would like to talk to everyone about our maintenance services that are provided by Asahi Kasei Bioprocess to make sure that the systems are, particularly the oligosynthesizer system, runs smoothly and there's no hiccups, no downtimes for the customer, or minimized downtimes. So we strongly stand by our slogan, which is built for you. All of our systems are custom made for our customers with great precision. Our designers take great pride in working continuously with our customers, making sure that we meet their footprint demands for their site, and also the aesthetic looks. And most important of all, the specific placement of components on these kits. Depending on their placement, it's very critical that a maintenance personnel should be easily able to reach a specific component and be able to service it properly without any issues. So we take great pride in making sure that all the final assembly is seamless, and all these things that I've just discussed are well taken into account when we're doing the final assembly in the system. And as I mentioned, these systems are made up of key high performance components, and all these components need to work in a smooth, synchronized manner to be able to ensure continuous manufacturing for oligonucleotides. And apart from that, we also offer additional services to our customers for when it comes to customization, such as remote HMI configuration and any other site requirements that they might have to fit our systems into their suites. And we are the oligonucleotide manufacturer go-to service providers. And the reason why I say that is our service team is composed of highly trained professionals. They go through years of extensive training before they're on site for a maintenance job. What we want to do is we want to make sure that they're trained and well prepared to make sure that all the components that they work on are serviced properly. All components are changed, and everything, and every component on the system is well inspected to make sure that the system runs efficiently. We also take great pride in safety awareness. When it comes to site safety awareness, we follow the PPE guidelines. We make sure that we also follow our own safety guidelines. Safety is key, not just for ourselves and also for our customers. We want to make sure that there's no mishaps at our customer site, which could lead to downtimes at a customer site. And as far as our maintenance plans are very flexible. We have preventive maintenance plans. We have predictive maintenance plans. We can customize our plans based off our customers' needs. We can customize them as to annual or biannual or based on hours of operation. Some of our customers run 24/7 and might want us to come out once to do a preventive maintenance and once to do a check on their system to make sure that everything's operational, everything's working fine, nothing looks out of ordinary, that the system will continue to run at least until the next PM. And then we can do an inspection again. And we also do predictive maintenance plans where we would recommend to a customer if during inspection, for example, if a component looks like it's about to go down or if it's not functioning to its maximum capacity at peak performance, we can recommend to a customer that this component should be changed to avoid any mishaps down the road. The other thing that we take great pride in doing is guiding our customers when it comes to parts. Parts are very critical when it comes to maintenance, and having the right parts and having the right parts on time is a huge advantage, and it really makes sure that the entire facility is running on time, that production is meeting its deadline, that there's minimum downtime. So we take great pride in guiding our customers. We feel like we're their partners when it comes to making sure that they're meeting their deadlines, that they're using the system to its max performance. So we guide them on their maintenance, preventive maintenance parts, and also making sure that sufficient quantity of these parts are maintained at their site at all times. We also use the first in, first out approach to reduce weight. So some of the parts might have an expiration date, for example, and if parts are sitting at a customer site on their shelf for a long time, it could expire and it might be thrown out as waste. So what we do is when we ship out new parts to the customer, we before starting our work, we ask them to provide their parts from their inventory so we can swap them out to make sure that there's less waste. And having parts is a huge advantage when it comes to avoiding supply chain constraints. If there are any issues with any key component in a system, and if there's supply chain issues, the system could be down 4, 5, 6 months at a time. So we want to make sure that the system is running and we minimize the downtime. So here, I want to talk a little bit about our mission, which is providing new values to society by enabling living in health and comfort and harmony with the natural environment. So service is a key part in sustainability. We want to make sure that not only that production is sustained, but also we're taking into account the effect that would have on environment. So what we want to do is we want to increase the lifespan of components that are in a particular system. And we do that by making sure that they're serviced properly, that there's almost no downtime when it comes to running the customer running their processes, and also avoid disruptions to reduce waste. A lot of times, or a few times, when customers run into a critical issue where a system is down in the middle of a process, they might have excess waste or whatever halfway or quarter way waste that they have. They might have to get rid of that, and we want to avoid those kind of situations. And the way we would do that is making sure that the systems are maintained and running properly. And at Asahi, we're also always thinking about the future of field service. And one of the things that we are strongly looking at is augmented merged reality. And the future is moving towards merged reality. And the reason why is the response rate. We can instantly provide response to our customers when it comes to troubleshooting. If they're having a critical issue, rather than getting on the phone or sending an email out or coming on site, which could take days sometimes or weeks, we could instantly support them via merged reality, where we can guide them step by step onto how to troubleshoot an issue and fix it. And not only that, we can also actually provide them training. Training is key when you're looking to run a system. If proper training is not utilized, there could be mishaps, a system could be abused, equipment could be severely damaged, and what that does is it just basically increases downtime. So we want to increase uptime, and we want to make sure that we can, in the future, reduce the time it takes a service personnel to come on site. And we would do that by using merged reality. And by doing that, we also make a dent in reducing carbon emission by reducing our travel. Travels at times could be 50% of the total time that's needed to service or be at a customer site. So if we can make some adjustments to reduce travel, to reduce carbon emission, that would help the environmental aspect of it. So lastly, I would like to talk to you about our 847 Continuum program. So what is 847? 8 stands for company values, which are sincerity, challenge, creativity, wisdom, curiosity, growth, passion, responsibility. 4 stands for our core services, which are support, parts and consumables, training, and maintenance. 7 is 7 days a week. Our dedicated international team is here to serve our customers. We definitely take pride in our 847 Continuum program, which will help our customers continue to run, reduce downtime, and make sure that their systems are maintained throughout the year. And with that, I would end my presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Scott, Stefan, and Wahab for an excellent session so far. We've received a few questions already, but we'll give the rest of you a few more moments to enter your questions into the Q&A box on the left-hand side of your screen. While we're waiting for those questions to stack up, I'd like to make sure that we thank our sponsors for sponsoring this digital week, including Asahi, Kasei, Bioprocess. Now, let's get back to our speakers for the Q&A.
All right, and here's our first question of the day. What makes your equipment stand out from the others?
I'll go ahead and jump on this one. What differentiates us from most of the competitors out there is our ability to do customization of our equipment. We have the ability to, we talked in-house, everything's done inside the facility in the Glenview headquarters. We design and build, as Wahab mentioned, a built-for-you type of approach where the customization is built for the application. And that includes having the systems having OPC automation capable of communicating with other pieces and devices within the facility. We prefer and we tend to create the right equipment for the oligo companies, the oligo manufacturing. So that's really our drive, is to find out what the industry needs are and then to adapt our equipment to meet those needs.
Great, thank you, Scott. Let's see here. Our next question is, what do you think is the most often overlooked benefit of Pharma 4.0? Let me redo that one. 4.0, right, guys?
That's right.
All right, I can say that. All right. And here's our next question. What do you think is the most often overlooked benefit of Pharma 4.0, digitalization?
Yeah, I can take that one, Brianna. Thank you for the question. I think one thing that stands out to me anytime that we talk about digitalization and Pharma 4.0, I kind of glossed over this and mentioning that it's not just an IT project, but I don't know. There is that inner Luddite in us that thinks that that this technology is going to replace our workforce, but I think in fact it's actually enabling our workforce, the workforce of the future. Right now we have supply chain concerns, but we also have it's a challenging time to fill roles with knowledgeable people, and digitalization and continuity of data presentation really supports quick onboarding, strong training protocols. You saw both Wahab and Scott also touch on that in their efforts, and I think that that really this digitalization effort means that we can get better or more work done with the staff that we have, rather than getting the same work done with fewer people or removing people from our workforce.
Great, thank you very much for that, Stefan. Let's see, our next question here. What role can service play in the future to increase sustainability?
Thank you for the question. I think service can play a major role when it comes to sustaining not just equipment and just playing a role in sustainability. We can reduce the carbon footprint, as I mentioned before, by reducing the amount of travel, to customer site, where we can utilize technologies that are present currently and will be highly utilized in the future, such as augmented reality. We can also reduce waste by making sure that the equipment is running at maximum peak, recognizing issues with equipment and with the processes ahead of time before they get to a critical step where tremendous amount of waste could be produced if there's any issues at that point of the process.
Great, thank you, Wahab. That's an excellent response. Let's see here. Our last question of the day, guys. How do you foresee service adaptation to digitalization?
Thank you for the question again. I think the service industry is moving towards more and more predictive maintenance. And when it comes to predictive maintenance, there's different types of sensors that are utilized now and different components on a particular piece of equipment, which provide data feedback and which could help recognize issues that could be ongoing with the equipment and prevent it from having a catastrophic failure. So digitalization would definitely help field service when it comes to providing accurate maintenance, making sure that the system is working at its peak performance for the maximum amount of time, and reducing downtime tremendously.
Thank you all for an excellent presentation, and that is all the time we have today. If anyone submitted a question that wasn't addressed, please keep in mind that the speakers will reach out to you directly. The session was recorded, and you'll receive a notification in 24 hours when the on-demand session is available for viewing. Please take a moment to complete the feedback form so we can continue to improve your Digital Week experience. On behalf of Informa Connect Life Science,